Hey guys, Mike here, The Fresh Rinse. A little different video for you tonight, but I really hope that you'll stick around with me all the way to the end of the video. In the comment section, I want to ask if you would kindly to comment with this phrase, I want to be generous. I want to be generous. It'll all make sense to you if you'll stick around to the end of the video. I want to do two things in this video. First of all, I'm going to kind of run you through a few scenarios that I think you'll find very interesting. And then I want to give a real life example of what it is to be generous, or at least from my angle, from my vantage point of what generosity looks like. So let me run you through a few scenarios very, very quickly. So imagine that you were guaranteed to get a gift of $100 every month for the rest of your life. Like, it's just someone wants to bless you with $100 for the rest of your life. Kind of cool, isn't it? So my question is, what would you do with 100 extra dollars? Take 30 seconds or so to think about that. For me, like right off the bat, I'm thinking about $100 would be really cool to spend on date night with my wife. Like, we already go on several dates throughout the month and they're already kind of funded. They're in the budget, but 100 extra dollars would maybe allow us to take date night to another level. Maybe you would do something else. Maybe you're buying groceries with your $100. But for me, like really quickly, I'm thinking date night with my wife. So let's pick it up a notch. How about $200 a month? Like, what would you do if you were guaranteed to receive $200 extra dollars every month for the rest of your life? For me, $2,400 a year, I'm thinking that's going to be a really nice vacation. Or if not a full vacation, like maybe it takes our vacation up a notch. Like, instead of driving, we're flying, or instead of staying in a hotel, maybe we're staying in a condo. Maybe we're going to stay a little bit longer on the vacation. I don't know. I just see that it's going to really pick up our vacation. I think that's what I'm going to do with my $2,400. What would you do? Don't leave it in the comments. Just keep it in your head. Let's do this a few more times. Instead of $200 a month, how about $500 a month? Like, $200 a month is pretty cool, and $100, I'm grateful, but $500, now I really got to think about that. What am I going to do with $500 extra dollars every month? I don't know, man. That kind of that puts me in another place, because I was grateful at $100. $200, I really got my wheels are spinning, but at $500. Like, for a lot of people, that's a truck payment. Maybe that's what it is. I'm going to get me an extra truck, and I'm going to enjoy it. Whatever I'm going to do with 500 extra bucks, I don't know. That's somewhat of a game changer, don't you think? 500 bucks. What would you do with 500 extra bucks? Okay, so let's pick it up a notch again. This time, $1,000 each month, guaranteed. It's yours. It's coming to you. That's a lot of money. $12,000 a year. I don't know. That's a game changer. Like, the needle is really turning on that one. Or is it this way? Yeah. $12,000 a year. Like, if you're the least bit unhappy in your job and someone offers you $12,000 more to take a different job, if all the stars aligned and all of the package deal and the insurance and all that, let's suppose it all worked out. $12,000, that's a lot. Oh no, with $12,000 a year, $1,000 a month, I think I could do a lot with it. That would change my family dynamic quite a bit, I do believe. I like where we're going with this. Let's do it two more times. $5,000 a month. Let's just skip to $10,000. $10,000 a month. It's guaranteed to you. You're going to get it. Like, if you're not happy at your job and now you're going to be gifted $120,000, like, you might not even go to work. I don't know. I kind of like playing this game. $120,000, if I already have insurance, or, if the benefits are there in this little perfect scenario, all of that works out. Yeah, $120,000 a year. That's a game changer. Like, just about anybody in America would maybe even quit their job for $120,000. So let me ask you a question. At what point in our little scenario did you stop thinking about yourself with this money that's coming in and start thinking, how can this benefit others as well? Like, at what point did you say, okay, like, I've already got a job, $1,000 extra a month, I can use that, $10,000 extra a month, I don't need that much money. Maybe I could help someone else. Maybe you're like me and you've used the phrase, I just want to see the fruits of my labor. Like, I want to see the payoff, the fruits of my labor. But here's the thing, a tree never eats its own fruit. Like, it doesn't gain nourishment from its own fruit. The fruit of a tree is to provide nourishment for others. Have you ever thought about that? Like, we're constantly trying to gain and gain and gain. And we have this theory that eventually I'll have enough and I can start helping others. Or do we even think that way? Maybe we don't. But even if we don't think that way, is there ever a time when we don't need any more? Oh no, I find that interesting. So let me give you a real life story. This happened to me more than 10 years ago. For whatever reason, maybe it was just something I ate or I was just feeling extra emotional. But in my prayer time, I began to pray on a regular basis, Lord, let me be generous. And I began to pray this, and the more I began to pray it, the more I began to see opportunities to be generous. But they weren't opportunities like I thought that they were going to be. Like, in my mind, generosity had a certain value to it. Like, you weren't generous until you gave away a certain amount of money or helped in a certain way. And so the Lord didn't speak to me audibly, but in my time of prayer, I felt like in my spirit that I was having a conversation with the Lord, and it was ongoing over several weeks. And so I said, Lord, let me be generous. And the Lord responded and said, well, how generous? And so in my imagination, I don't know why, but $100 just seemed like a generous gift. Like, if you walk up to someone and for whatever reason you wanted to spontaneously give someone a gift, $100 seemed to be generous. You're going to tip the waitress or, just surprise someone. We've seen it on YouTube and, TikTok and what we've seen this kind of thing. And I wanted to be one of those people. And so when the Lord said, what does generous look like to you? I said $100. Now, again, I didn't have an audible conversation, but I felt that in my spirit. And in my spirit, I felt the Lord saying, well, start with $10. And I said, Lord, $10, that's not benevolence. That's embarrassing. Like, who's going to walk up to a stranger and give them a $10 bill? Like, and how does $10 really amount to anything in the grand scheme of things? And I felt the Lord telling me, if you won't be generous with $10, you're not going to be generous with $100. And that just cut. I felt that one. And so I said, okay, well, I wonder how that's going to look. Let me ask you, have you ever maybe stuck your hand in your coat pocket after having not worn your coat all summer long, and you stick your hand in your coat pocket come wintertime and there's a piece of money? I've done that before. Or maybe it's in your shorts. You haven't worn shorts all winter long. You put on your favorite shorts and you had washed and dried money and it was there in your pocket. Well, I did that, and there was a $10 bill. So I kind of was in that place where I challenged the Lord. I asked him, and he said, I'm willing to do it if you're willing to do it. So I don't remember exactly how it played out, but I ended up giving the $10 to someone. And I know it was uncomfortable, probably for me. It was uncomfortable for them, but I did it. It just, maybe in an act of obedience or whatever, I gave $10. And by the way, as a caveat, let me say this very quickly. When we get to the end of this story, it's going to sound like Mike is bragging, but I want you to know something. There are no bragging rights in this whatsoever, and it'll make sense to you at the end. Just hang out with me. So a week or so later, I was preaching at a church, I think in Indiana somewhere, and someone came up to me and gave me the old handshake, and there was some money. I could feel that there was something in their hand. And this gentleman had given me $100. And I had been given gifts before, I mean, people have given me gifts, and I just didn't think a lot about it other than just being gracious and very grateful and thankful. But because I had been praying and it was a $100 bill, I just felt like I had to give that away. And so I did. A week or so later, I was at another church in another state, and I was preaching, and I saw a family come in that man, I don't want to judge anybody, but they looked like they needed $100. Whatever that means, I just felt like that. And so I pulled the husband aside because I didn't want to embarrass him in front of his kids. And I said, I don't know why, but I feel like the Lord wants me to give you this. And don't you know it, someone else comes up to me, and I don't remember now the circumstance. I don't think it was church. I can't remember now. This happened to me so many times that I can't even remember all the stories. I will tell you this. I gave away probably thousands of dollars in $100 bills, all from a $10 bill that I found in my coat pocket. One time I was in Canada preaching, and the pastor and I were at a coffee shop. And by the way, when I was in full-time ministry, I never made more than $32,500. And my wife was a substitute school teacher. Believe you me, every time a $100 bill came in my hand, I could have used it. I promise you I could have used it. But my pastor friend and I were talking, and I was sharing with him the details of this story, much like I'm sharing it with you. And his eyes welled up with tears, and he said, if God is blessing you with this $100 ministry, I want to be a part of this. And he pulls out $100, and that became my next $100. And so on my way home in Michigan, I stopped at a restaurant, met with some other friends there in Michigan, and the waitress comes up and she's telling us this story because we just made friends with her about her grandmother. It's too much to the story. And I just felt like I got to give this $100 bill away. So here's the thing. I have no bragging rights. I was never really generous. I just got to feel what it feels like to be generous. None of those $100 bills were mine. Like, it's really only generosity when it's yours and it becomes a sacrifice. That initial seed money was a $10 bill I found in a coat pocket that God didn't even put there. Like, I had left it there the winter before. So I really feel like we talk a lot about generosity, but if we're not going to be generous with $10, we're not going to be generous with 10,000. I want to encourage you, don't wait until you're a 10,000 heir to be generous with what you have. And I know there's some of you even right now who are saying, Mike, I need people to be generous to me. And I'm sorry that you're in that situation. I know all about that from an American standpoint anyways. I know all about that. But I will tell you that if you choose to be generous with the little bit that you've been blessed with, then you'll be blessed with a lot. The Bible says in the book of Luke, he that is faithful in the least will be faithful in much. I want to be faithful with much, and that begins being faithful with the little things. I hope that helps somebody. A little different than what we're used to, and I appreciate you watching all the way to the end.